Hello, seniors. This is Professor View, and this is Chapter 6, Awakening the Power of Families and Neighborhoods. We need to act as each of us and all of us have all that is needed to change the consumptive habit. We can change this thing with intention. What we have, what exists, what we see exists all around us, but we don't necessarily recognize it. And this is John McKnight's video about worms.
Um, One of the things about community and neighborhood and its assets is that to most people, they're invisible. I drive in the evening, park the car, go in the house, and leave the next morning, and they don't really see what's around them, right? And so the real community building possibility always depends on, can we see what's there? What are the gifts, what are the capacities that we have? And it reminds me of how blind I have been sometimes in my life. I remember going years ago to a little town in Ireland, out in the west of Ireland, town with only one little grocery store, and we had rented a little cottage. And I wanted to fish because there was a lake outside of town. So I had brought along my fishing rod and reel, and so I went in just down the street and walked into the little grocery store. And there was an Irish gentleman standing there looking, and there was nobody else in the store, of course. There weren't that many people in the town. And he had on the shelf 2 cans of peas, 4 cans of corn, six bags of coal, right? And I said to him, sir, I just would like to buy some bait if I could. Could I get some bait here? And he said to me, what would you mean bait? And I said, well, like worms. And he looked at me in disbelief. And he said, well, Sonny, he says, you look back there on the path when you walked from the street to the store. Do you see those big whitewashed stones along both sides of the path? He says, I think if you turn them over, you'll find lots of worms. And I've always remembered that we are walking blindly, right, through a world where we think we have to buy things. It's all out there when what we're looking for is there if we could see it, and it isn't in the market.
So the moral of the story, of course, is that you're constantly missing. You're not even aware of what's all around you because we're thinking about what's on our screens or what we can buy with Amazon uh, versus what I could build in my own backyard or what's already there in along the road or in my fellow citizens. We need to be fully engaged as citizens and shift our attention, the stories, the narrative toward the community that we can reclaim. So the people around me, the resources. In this place, we have a strong culture where kin, friends, and neighbors surround us. We're a group of families who have a special kind of relationship. Together, we raise our children, manage health, feel productive, and care for those on the margin. So it's about building connections around us with all the people that surround us, not looking for people outside of the entertainment. There's nothing wrong with entertainment, but getting your satisfaction from that, it's boring. It's like we know we have 300 channels and nothing's on. Um, it really isn't satisfying. So the pioneers came out here, like my father's grandfather came out, and he he back then you could get 140, I think it's 160 acres, and if you lived on it for a year, built a building and lived on it, they give it to you. I'm not sure, you probably had to pay taxes and all that, but anyway, he did that. He built a granary and he lived in the granary. pretty rough life in western Kansas. If you're experiencing the cold we just had here in even Oklahoma, northeast Oklahoma, this cold would be very common in western Kansas. Only you'd have about a 30-mile-an-hour wind with gusts higher than that, and they call it a blizzard. And most of the time, the wind's blowing all the time out there. Um, anyway, he lived in that granary in spite of this weather. Imagine that there's no insulation in a granary. It's just a wood tacked onto wood, and the walls don't even have more than one layer of wood on them. So yeah, so when he came out here, he had some land, his tools, and himself. Those are the assets he had in which to create a homestead, and shortly thereafter a hometown. It would all have to be home produced and often handmade. And because of that, everything they created was an expression of themselves, their vision, their knowledge, their skills, and their limitations. The result was a community in which they had pride because they had created it. Um, After he homesteaded in north of Greensburg, they sold that land eventually and moved the family down to southwest of Greensburg, just 4 miles, and where I lived, and well, I didn't live in this house then. Then in the home place, so they built the house themselves from, and it was obvious that they weren't necessarily home builders because it was kind of funny. It had a huge upstairs, um, with a huge hall down the middle and five or six, I can't remember, maybe 5 bedrooms on either side, and or 5 bedrooms on the sides of the hall. There was a total of 5 or 6 bedrooms, and they're all little. The hall was as big as the bedroom. I mean, as far as width and length, it was the full length of the house. And so he had these small bedrooms with like little closets in them where a hanger wouldn't even hang, across the closet. You had to hang it on the back wall, and it probably was built for maybe 2 sets of clothes, farm clothes, and the whole house was built for 6 kids, and so that you could work the farm. You had kids to work what he did. My father came from a family of 5 boys and 1 girl, so it was perfect for that. And they were very successful. They created their own world. I remember there was a uh, ironing board, one of those wooden ironing boards they built into the wall where it would fold out, and you could iron your clothes there it was actually the dining room where the thing folded out of the wall, and then you could fold it back up and shut the cupboard. It was a cupboard with an ironing board in it, a wooden ironing board on able to fold it out on hinges. Competition with lessons from the pioneers. The pioneers were in the wilderness. They had land, their tools, and themselves, and they built community. It was creation of. I'm looking for my book real quick. It was creation of families, of personal creation, using their gifts, skills, and capacities, and their strong relationships that grew as they worked together. 117. You can read with me if you want. This thing called a book, because we don't even if we think about computers, we read, or even if we read a book, it's from the computers. So the rest of the pioneer process. I think I might have had the wrong page number on there. Okay. We need community that will make a difference in our lives, and we can't buy it or create it through a program. So where do we start? It is a great puzzle. While we are not suggesting that we return to an earlier time, the early history of the United States and Canada gives us a clear direction to pursue. The first European pioneers who settled down in a new place had a daunting task. Perhaps they were 2 families with children. They arrived in the wilderness with 2 covered wagons and a few oxen to pull them. Inside the wagons were simple tools, a trunk or two, and basic provisions. They were at the beginning of creating a new community. Perhaps if we understood how they did it, we could see how we could do it too. What did they have? There was some land, their tools themselves, and there was the assets they had in which they created a homestead and shortly thereafter a hometown. Anyway, we already read that. This new community was the creation of families: Mary, Sam, and their children, and Charles, Abby, and their children, and Charles' father, Robert. This new community was the personal creation of these people, their gifts, skills, and capacities. Every neighborhood today has the assets of those first settlers, the skills, gifts, and capacities of each of the residents, and the power to establish working relationships. The pioneers' process can help guide us. Like us, their families were imperfect, limited people. Mary was a bitter person. Sam was given too much drink. Their oldest boy, John, had a shriveled left leg from birth. Their youngest boy, Peter, they called slow. He would never learn how to read or count money. Charles had lost his right arm in a mill accident back where they came from. Abby was tired all the time. Her teenage daughter, Jane, often drifted away in her mind and forgot what she was doing. Charles' father, Robert, had a hard time walking. These were people who created a homestead in a hometown. So the point is that nobody's perfect. You don't have to have perfect. We got all we need. We may not have it all, but we got all we need. Competence. The point, we have all the assets, the first settlers, gifts, associations, and hospitality. I like that. Picture is all I included that for. So let's listen to the Stone Soup.
You all know the story of Stone Soup, right? Well, okay, here's a quick version. It was after the war. Soldiers are coming through the countryside and they're really hungry. And they get to this little village and they ask the villagers, do you have some food you can spare? And the villagers say, sorry, we don't have anything because they've hoarded what little they have. And the soldiers say, that's okay, we've got a magic stone. And if somebody will lend us a kettle, we'll make stone soup. So a villager brings a kettle, they put the stone in, they add water, they put it on the fire. Soup's going to be fantastic. But you know, it'd be even better if somebody had a few herbs. So somebody brought a few herbs. It'd be even better if somebody had a leek. And somebody brought a few scraps of meat. And every villager brought a little something. And when that soup was done, it was the most delicious soup people had ever had. And they marveled at the magic of that stone. Yeah, but of course the moral story is the magic wasn't in the stone, the magic's in community. That's the meaning of community. Right? Everybody's got needs and everybody's got gifts. And it's about meeting each other's needs with each other's gifts. And that no one person has all the gifts we need to build community, but collectively we've got everything we need.
And sadly, I think we're losing some of this. It's not that we're losing it, it's that we're giving up access to it or allowing other people to manipulate access to it so that they control what we can do and what we can't do. And that leaves us with very little choice if we want to survive. And I hope it's not too late. Here's just a list of community abundance and its gifts. So you can look at all those. There's actually a checklist that they take around during this process and have in each neighborhood and have them do a checklist about what's available and what isn't, and what you're willing to give and what you need and what you're willing to give. And it's identifies that way. We can identify, come together, and give our gifts and share them. Children need to be a part of it. Young people could teach internet to seniors. I always think about that. I think in one of my classes I show you the video about the student, they've set up a deal where the graduate or the college students live in the nursing home, and they have a roommate, like the guy has a roommate with an elderly man who he gets to know, and they hang out together, and he does his homework, and they get free room and board if they come in and befriend one of the elderly in the nursing home. And of course, there's people that's such a beneficial idea. It's a wonderful idea. Another one is that they put I may have pictures, it may be in this class actually. I'll just wait. They have a daycare center put into the nursing home. And so they have both licenses, a nursing home license and a daycare center. And the children come for half a day or however long they come and bless the seniors, and the seniors bless the children. And it's a mutually beneficial solution to, or I don't even call it a solution, it's just community. It's what it should be. It shouldn't be a solution. It should be the natural born way that it used to be, is that you kept grandma and grandpa home in your house, and you didn't even think about letting somebody else take them, because there was always someone in the home, and they would, and the kids were also educated in the home, and so that's changed a lot, of course. Neighborhood gifts can help us care for the land, bring broken things together to be repaired, have neighborhood hikes. They have it out at Osage. They have every year. They have an Osage hike, and sometimes they do a midnight hike, like during the when there's a shooting star. What do you call it? You know what I mean? When they have one of those, when you know it's going to happen for all night. They'll do a hike out into Osage where you get away from all the lights, and you can actually see the shooting stars. You create neighborhood gardens, have forums about buying local food, share transportation to work, or buy only things with no packaging. My idea was to have a garden, provide little gardens for each house, so we could, even if they didn't want us to dig up their lawn, we could have these large bag gardens. We could set up a garden of lettuce where they could go out and literally pick lettuce. And my wife and I and our family now, I have a hoop house, and just as soon as in the last 2 weeks before it got really cold, we went out and were picking lettuce out of that I planted in from seed, and picking a few leaves to make tacos, to put lettuce in our tacos. It didn't make a lot yet because the lettuce hadn't grown a lot, but it was really fun. It was like, cool, there's lettuce growing right out there. We don't have to buy it. It's right there. And it was fresh. So it was really a cool thing. We support the local economy and self-sufficiency, help repair a neighbor's house, or post job openings on a website, or identify neighborhood entrepreneurs, identify home businesses, invite local business people to make presentations at forums, and have neighborhood professionals make presentation at forums to decode their trades and create barter exchange and buy and eat locally produced food. And then of course, there's Tebow, who wants to play. He wants to play with his ratty little toy he tore up. Yeah. But we're not playing now, Tebow. See, you choked. You shouldn't do those things. Okay. Shouldn't say that either. Provide more security, care, and health in the neighborhood. And we have mutual support groups. Hold a forum for neighborhood security. Learn from peacemakers how to use family and neighborhood and neighborhood quarrels. How to deal with it. How to deal with anxiety. How to deal with anger. How to be organized. How do we let the elderly deal with child care, like I was saying with the nursing home, but it doesn't have to be a nursing home. Have a health exchange where people talk about what is working to stay healthy. Here's, oh, it is this class. No wonder I remember it. Tebow, you have to be quiet. We're watching a video.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and how are you? I'm fine, and hope that you are too.
It's a place where magic happens.
I love children. Did you put this together? I get so much enjoyment from them.
Yeah. Good morning,
Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning. Good morning to you.
This is Providence Mount St. Vincent in Seattle. People here affectionately call it the Mount. It's a seniors' home like no other, where the very old and the very young spend their days together,
Now you put your hand up on top. There. Let's see.
where years blend into moments.
Look at you guys are playing a game together. Wow.
Can you count with me?
Patricia Lowe is 94 years old. She had 7 children in 11 years.
Now I have a chance to sit back and enjoy them, you know, because I had to hurry up, get the laundry done, hurry up, get, you know, hurry up and hurry up.
And now you can just watch.
Now I enjoy, yeah.
We skip and we skip and we skip and we skip.
The Mount is home to 400 residents. It's also home to 125 children who attend a daycare in the building. Employees came up with the idea 20 years ago, but Charlene Boyd pushed it much further.
These children are present in the moment, and so are the residents in the moment as well. And when you put those two together, it is such a great connection. I think I'll put that right there. Is that okay?
Charlene is the director here. The little ones have their own defined space, but she made sure the entire facility is licensed for childcare, setting the stage for something rare and remarkable.
So somebody who might have severe dementia might just open up and see that joy in her life or his life for a moment and remember being a parent, remember being in that moment. That present perfect is what we see every day.
Present perfect.
That present perfect, it's found when the halting march of time seems to stop.
Say hi. Say hi.
The average age of residents here is 92. The children are part of their daily lives, both spontaneous and planned.
That is so cute.
How do you feel about visiting with the babies?
Oh, I love it. I do. I really love it. Every time they come, I always come and get to the place where I can find out to hold them, and I just love it.
What you love about it?
Well, for one thing, they're squishy, and that's kind of a strange thing, but just to feel their soft bodies is just, it's so fun, and I really like it. I really like to see the kids.
It's one of those things, you either love kids or you don't love kids. And I love them. I mean, I just think they're very special, you know. And I love to hug them and squeeze them and sing songs to them. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear, Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. All that stuff.
The Mount has long made it its mission to be a home for living, not dying, to provide a sense of community in a place where no one wants to be.
That's not too hot, is it? No. Okay.
From trips to the hairdresser,
Happy birthday to the July folks.
to weekly parties celebrating milestones, the model is less medical, more about meaningful interactions. The children are part of that natural rhythm. of lives growing more quiet and often more remote.
You guys are such a big help. Thank you so much.
Many residents, like Henrietta Turner, have dementia. Time with the children is actually part of their care plan to help reduce anxiety, to help them engage, and to unlock glimpses of lives steadily slipping away.
It's a full circle of life. I think it's really important that these elders are not out of sight, out of mind, that all of us are aging, and all of us will not always age at these perfect ways, and that just because I'm in a wheelchair, just because I'm in a walker, just because I'm have a dementia, doesn't mean that I'm not human, and that those children are learning that humanness at a very young age. The laughter and the spirit that they have with no particular agenda other than themselves. And so that connection is so powerful, the magic that you cannot bottle up.
Lorenzo,
And there are magical bonds that defy words.
give my regards to Broadway. Remember me in Herald Square.
Jim Nelson is 77. He moved in 6 years ago after a series of falls. His family doesn't visit often. 3-year-old Enzo Boado is a big part of his new one.
What song do you like to sing?
Zippity doo dah.
Zippity doo dah, zippity day. My oh my, what a wonderful day. Plenty of sunshine, plenty of rain. Doo dah. Whenever they come, I like to do something with them. I don't just pass them by. I think that I'm teaching positiveness. Why moan and groan about something? Because you can't do anything about it. But you can, if you say, I can do this. I'm going to do this. Let's get on with the show.
It is an incredibly simple philosophy and so powerful. Mount St. Vincent has never done any formal studies to add up the effect of all these moments, to measure what amounts to happiness. Most people living here will only be here for 2 years, and most will tell you joy is always within reach.
I'm telling you, everyone just loves those children.
Mary Gonzalez is 75 years old. She moved in a year ago after a hip injury. Mary has 6 children, 7 grandchildren. She sees them often, but says she can't get enough of the children here.
My heart is just full. My heart is full. Because they're so adorable, they're so wonderful, and I love them. Yeah, they make my life.
And every day, after they go, she goes to visit them.
I love you very much. I love it. How can anyone not love it?
Yet another moment where fading
Love
lights
you.
still burn so bright.
Bye. Love you.
Joanna Rimiliotis, CBC News, Seattle.
You're very best.
So if that doesn't touch you, I don't know. I really, it always touches me to watch that every time I've seen it. Power of our gifts. We begin to take creative responsibility for our families and our lives. We share the gifts, connections, and relationships that we created. Begin to understand the limits of money. Money can't buy caring. Money can't buy love. We find a new kind of trust emerging. We feel powerful. We begin to create a history together. We can tell our story. And, you know, if you have, you should have that much community there at Oakwood, right? Because you guys live together in the bubble. I'm hoping that that you guys can, if you have what you like there, recreate it when you leave Oakwoo. When you go to do your practicum, recreate the love that you, the sense of community. And if you don't have it at Oakwoo, then create it, make it. What are you doing about it? Don't cry about it. Don't cry because there's not enough people that love you or care about you. Start caring in people that you know, they what that movie said. If you build it, they will come. Tell your story. Find places that people can tell their story. The giver sees the value, sees their own value and appreciation of the receiver. The receiver sees the value of the giver and the gift. The community becomes more valuable as the value of the gift is shared to the benefit of others. Remember the pioneer families. And then there's, you can read from Alexis Tocqueville. I may have it on here, I don't know. Yeah, on page 125. I'm not going to read through that. Go ahead, and you should have read it when you went through there the first time, when you read the book, I mean, chapter 6. Connected gifts create associations, the power of associations. It's the power to decide what needs to be done, the power to decide how we could do it, how we could do what needs to be done, and the power to join with one's neighbors to do what needs to be done. The power to decide what needs to be done. Did I just say that? Yeah, I did that. What happened? I must have doubled that slide. Sorry. So this is, well, let's watch it, and then I'll, if there needs explanation, I'll tell you. But what they're doing is they're organizing. Not kind of organizing that you might think of in terms of a negative thing. It's how to...
See, people don't respect nobody that's not organized. I said that just like I wanted to say it that way. Ebonics, they don't respect nobody that ain't organized. How many people here are block club presidents? Okay, great, that's fine. How many people here have one on their block? Thank you. How many people here live on a block? Okay, thank you. All right, now, that's part of the problem. Everybody, you know, we can't sit around and say, I'm tired of stuff being on the block. Well, you got to, how many people here live on the block? Stand up. Now, don't they feel a lot different when you moved off the block? Float in the air, I guess. Listen, he's a block club.
So he's talking about becoming a block leader or block, some kind of a organization. Now you could be a, what do they call that when you are a block mother, right? And everybody keeps an eye out for all the kids in the neighborhood. They put speed bumps down because people will cut through our neighborhood and to avoid the traffic from ConocoPhillips. Come here, Tebow. Shh. Shh. It's just a doggy outside. Tebow's all excited today. He's all bunched up with us. Here's another one. I'm not gonna, well, I might show it. Let's see what this one is, then we might skip it.
So you look around this room, and I'm glad to see these young sisters. Let me tell you something. Can't nobody gang bang like these young sisters. You should see them. They call World War III, man, on text message. I can't stand you. You know my nerves. Look at her hair. Look at how she got. You see, they be doing it, man. But see, what we got to do now is not that y'all be doing it. But I'm saying, what we got to do now is turn that thing to something that really matters. And then link it all up together. And then tell them, if you come this way, we going to be a part of it. Right? So now, you said something. Right? So I don't know how we're going to do this. But see, people forget. I got y'all real emotional. I'm Sunday morning. And watch this. I got to find a way. Somebody tell me, how do we make sure that, Virgil, you know that these are some of your new Village block leaders, citizen leaders. How do we do that?
Well, I think the first thing we do is let everybody know that you're standing up and pledging to be a citizen leader on your village block, meaning that you're stepping into a role of responsibility and duty to provide leadership and to be a part of an organized effort to create a united front that is going to demand some inclusion for this community. And that organized united front is going to be done through People Organized for Public Progress, POP.
EOP. All right, now, look. All right, so I need for somebody to get the list out there.
Okay, so what I want you to think about when you're watching this group of people become village block leaders or develop that concept for progress, do you think that that's what happened in Seattle and Portland this year? Do you think that's the kind of organization that they want to, Antifa? Or are they talking about something else? I think they're talking about something else. And I think they honor our country by what they're doing. And we only have our country, people. We don't have whatever they're building after they tear it all down and burn it all down. What are they going to have? Nothing. And these people are organizing for progress. So I'm not going to waste that. It's not a waste of time, but it takes a little bit of time to watch these. You can look them up. They're on the internet, and I can post the whole PowerPoint slide so you can look them up, but I doubt that any of you really have time to do that. I'm just saying, if you need them, they're available. They're YouTube. They're from the YouTube, so there's links to YouTube actually, so you can find them. That one's a little blurry. That one's still going on. There we go. Connected gifts create associations. So we talked about associations last time. I think it was McKnight that said, in some Slavic countries in the Soviet Union, associations were called conspiracies. And that's exactly what we're seeing happen in our country right now. Guys, if you're in an association that doesn't agree with us politically, you're a conspiracy. You're a conspiracy theorist if you think certain things are true, just because I don't believe what you believe. And I'm not even willing to look at any evidence that you might have, because it's just not right. So they're canceling people. They're canceling you for saying things they don't like you to say. They don't want you to say it, so they're going to cancel you. They're going to check you out. And so there's all kinds of things, though, that aren't controversial that you can do. Animal care groups, anti-crime groups, disability, special needs groups, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Education groups, another list there. It's all in your book. I reprinted it because I want you to look at this. It'd be nice. What you should do is go through your slides with somebody else, so you can discuss. You can pause it and discuss it. This stuff motivates me. It makes me want to get up out of here and get our start our garden program, start our connections program. I actually have an LLC, a limited liability company, developed called Social Growth Transformation. I had a mental block. You know why I have a mental block with it? Is because it's going to be risky for me to do this. I'm an introvert. I'm not a neighborly kind of guy. I mean, I'm a good neighbor. I wave at people, but going and developing a relationship is hard for me. I feel insecure doing that. I grew up basically an only child out in the country. I mean, I had an older brother and sister, but they were a lot older and a lot more distance. And luckily, my sister's boyfriend came back, and whenever they came back from school, it was playtime, man. We did everything. So I had that. But anyway, that Social Growth Transformations is my LLC. and it's for social growth, and it's for growing people connections as well as uh, plants. It's growing from the earth, chickens growing from the, from nature, it's living off the land as much as possible, and transforming the transformations that come from that. I got to write this up someday so I can literally explain it better to people, but I've been I just put it off. I keep putting it off. I don't know why. It just makes me, I guess I'm scared. I'm a human, I guess. There's more associations. So I might have misspelled associations. That's really cool. Oh, yeah, I didn't. Delete. Oh, it's once because it's a repeated word. Never mind. These are associations that you might not think of normally, but at 4-H, I was a member of 4-H, teen leaderships, Boy Scouts, all kinds of things like that you can create in your community. And this is one of my favorite videos. I don't know if I already showed it to you, but you should have seen it at least.
So the bishop sends me up to this little church in South Bend, 40 people, Broadway United Methodist Church in South Bend, little church. And we had a food pantry in the church. We were the social service church there in that low-income neighborhood on the city's southeast side. And people would come to us, and when they came to the food pantry, we got government surplus food. So because we got government surplus food, we had a government surplus form we had to fill out. And the form said, how much is your income and how much your expenses? So, we'd get people fill out forms and say, well, my income's $600 a month and my expenses are $1,000 a month. Well, we're a little congregation. What can we do with that? We can't do much with that. We couldn't do something for one person with that, much less. So we just put it in a file cabinet because we couldn't do anything else with it. Well, we came to Pentecost in 1992. And at Broadway in South Bend, we would have worship, and then every Sunday morning after worship, there was a lunch downstairs for whoever wanted to come. So after Pentecost worship, we were downstairs, and whatever table the preacher sat at, you could come and talk about worship that day and the sermon that day. And we're sitting there talking, and this woman says, her name's Janet, Janet says, you said this morning that Peter, reading from the book of the prophet Joel, says God's Spirit flows down on all people, young and old, women and men. And I think, how good am I? It's a half an hour later, and she remembers what I said. I'm awesome. And I said, yes, that's right. And she said, so how come we don't treat people like that? Oh. I said, what do you mean? She said, when people come to the food pantry, we ask people how poor they are. If God's Spirit has flowed down on all people, isn't that true for people who show up there? Yes. So when people, we changed. And when people started coming to the food pantry, we didn't ask people anymore how poor they were. We asked people how rich they were. And we asked people 10 pages of questions about how rich they were. Now, people didn't really believe you want to know, but you get halfway through 10 pages, they're starting to believe maybe you're serious. So we asked people, have you taken care of older folks? Have you taken care of children? Or have you done it because you're members of your family, because you're working somewhere, because you've been helping a neighbor out? Can you fix a toaster? Can you drive a car? Do you play a musical instrument? Do you sing? Have you cooked for more than 10 people? Have you cleaned up after more than 10 people? If you grow things, do you grow flowers? Do you grow vegetables? Do you play a musical instrument? Do you sing? Just everything you think. And we asked 3 questions at the end. What 3 things do you do well enough that you could teach somebody else how to do it? What 3 things would you like to learn that you don't already know? And who besides God and me is going with you along the way? Well, one of the first people who came to us was a little woman about this tall named Adele Almaguer, lived half a block from the church, 3 generations of her family, and needed food. And she said she was a good cook. So we said, prove it. She said, what do you mean? Cook for the custodian, secretary, and the pastor, lunch on Friday. So she cooked for us. We paid her for us. It was fabulous. So leadership of the neighborhood organization was meeting. We said, don't eat somewhere else. Meet here at the church and let Adele cook for you. So she cooked for them. They paid her for it. They loved it. Over the next 9 months, Studebaker Elementary School in our neighborhood had a parent-teacher meeting. She cooked. They needed food. She cooked for it. Southeast Side Neighborhood Health Center had an open house in our neighborhood. They needed food. She provided it. Memorial Hospital in South Bend had a press conference in our neighborhood. They needed food. She provided it. Then the Chamber of Commerce called. We want to have an all-day meeting of our leadership program in your church building. And we said, well, that day works. You can meet here. And they said, since we're going to be there all day and we have 70 people, we need to use your kitchen. And we said, well, you can use our kitchen, but we would prefer that you use our caterer. And they said, okay. So we took $20 and bought 1,000 business cards. They said, La Chaparrita Catering, spunky Tex-Mex food. And she fed 70 of the business and civic leaders in the community. They passed out her business card to everybody there. Through that, she got connected to the Michiana Businesswomen's Association. And a year and a half later, she opened up Adelita's Fajitas at the corner of 8th and Harrison in Elkhart. Now, if we had asked her when she showed up, if she had showed up 2 weeks early, and we had asked her, how poor are you? We would have all ended up poor for it. And we would have missed a lot of great food. We base everything we do on this idea that God's abundance is blossoming around us all the time, just bubbling up all the time, that it's there in the places that people don't think it is, that people least expect it, and that where the world says it isn't there. In John 10:10, Jesus says, I came that you may have life abundant. It doesn't say when your pockets are full. It doesn't say when everything's all right. It says life abundant right here and right now.
That just cool. That is so cool. I can't find better stuff to watch that inspires me, because that's exactly what I want to do. This is another story. I think Pula, I think it probably already shown you this. So I'm going to skip through this one. I think we already watched it. You may have already watched that Mike Mather one, but I like to watch it twice. I don't care. And this is a building government community partnerships. That's probably a little deeper than we need to go. I just wanted to, it's just more stuff that if we were going to spend a lot of time, I mean, you don't have to watch this. If you're interested, I may or may not have it already on Brightspace, but at least you know it's there and you can look it up. And I know you don't have time for all this stuff, but I love to give you everything. That's the problem, because I end up, then people get mad because I've given you too much and I overdo it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video presentation, and I hope that you also enjoy the fact that I'm not going to make you do anything. I just want you to think about it, and when we get back together in class, maybe we'll talk about it. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon.